Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to speak to you.
Nice to meet you.
So for people who don't know anything about The Trouble with Jessica, what can they expect from the film? Why should they go and watch it?
I like it. I think it's a really dark, funny, twisted, nasty little piece, which is the kind of thing I like. I mean, it's one of the kind of things I like. And it's about a bunch of people who have dinner together and something tragic happens. And then a lot of ugly, selfish characteristics raise their heads.
When I watched it, I felt like I was settling in for quite a different film. And then the shocking thing that I guess we can't give away happened. Did you feel a bit the same when you read the script? And was that one of the appeals, just that it took places in a different direction than you might expect?
No, I mean, I never really have too much expectation. I'd hoped that there was a bit of a twist to it. I knew Matt from before, so I was hoping there'd be something interesting. I mean, yeah, something about the title, which reminded me of a Hitchcock film. I'd hoped that there would be something interesting going on, and that was the appeal of it.
And what a fabulous cast that he's put together, and you're all sort of bouncing off each other seamlessly. What did you love most about working with all these other people?
Well, for me, it was lovely because I was working with a few people I'd worked with before. So I've worked with Shirley Henderson a couple of times. She's played my wife twice, so it was quite weird to see her married to someone else. Didn't feel quite right at first. I did Shakespeare Retold, Taming of the Shrew with her for the BBC, and Charles II, she played my wife in that. Alan Tudyk I did A Knight's Tale with. Olivia Williams I did The Father with. Dira Varma, never worked with before, but massive fan of hers. So the cast was a big draw for me.
And your character, I mean, he's got some cracking lines, but, how did you see him? He's obviously, a lawyer having to defend certain people, committing crimes or not. How did you kind of rationalise him, and what did you find enjoyable about playing him?
Well, he's very smart. He's very kind of self-centered. He's kind of fun. And he is necessarily amoral in the way that some people have to be, as they are quite pragmatic, one would say. And under duress, he's kind of explosive, so I think it was fun to play.
And I love the mix of kind of like comedy and tragedy, which feels like a very kind of British thing. Did you feel like that's what made this so kind of appealing as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain films that it reminds me of. It's not just British. There's a certain kind of indie film vibe to it that could be a French film, or that his influences are quite varied and far-ranging, and it reminded me in turn to a number of things I couldn't quite place. Yeah, that kind of vicious, dark, kind of unforgiving light that is shone on these people I find kind of fun.
And some physical comedy as well, having to carry things. Did anything go wrong? Was there any funny moments on set?
Practically everything goes wrong all the time, and if you're lucky enough to be filming and the one moment it goes right, there you have a film.
And what do you hope people will take away? It's just kind of a really fun ride to go along, not knowing quite where it's going to end up.
Yeah, I think for a viewer who's not going to know what to expect, providing we haven't given too much away, I think it's kind of shocking and funny and dark and entertaining in a pleasantly vicious kind of way.
And you've done such an array of things. I was actually at the Scoop premiere the other day.
Yeah.
What an incredible performance in that as well. What was that night like for you? What has that experience been like? And I guess seeing the reception to that is going to be very exciting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a bit too neurotic to be purely excited about anything. There's always like two sides to that. But, the whole job itself was very interesting to do. There's a certain amount of trepidation and fear having accepted the role and about the responsibility of something like that. Then we did it, and then there's been a bit of growing anxiety about, you never know how a thing like this is going to go down. But now I've seen it, I'm quite proud of it. Let the chips fall where they may. I read the script for a start, and I loved it. I'd actually worked with Matt years before in this short film piece called The Brunches. I was in very briefly. And I read the script, and I just immediately had an instinct about it. People like to ask about preparation, but the preparation I do is generally quite kind of instinctive. And I spoke to a barrister who's a friend of Matt's, and that was very useful. Other than that, just get it from the script, and I was lucky enough to know and be a big fan of all of the actors that I was working with, with the exception of Dira Varma, who I'd never worked with before. Big fan. So a lot of it is just based on relationships you have and your rapport with them. Well, that was one of the main attractions, is the fact that a number of them I've worked with before. I've worked with Olivia Williams on The Father. I worked with Shirley twice before on Charles II, Shakespeare Retold. I worked with Alan Tudyk on The Knight's Tale. And so they're all like old friends and people that I love working with. So it was just as a treat. It was a play in that it was mainly one set, one house the whole time. So I quite like going to the same place every day. It's like as close as I get to a regular job. So we were all in the same building all the time. We had our meetings together, and that was very nice. But in that way, it was like a play. So I don't know who said that. It wasn't me. Well, that's something I always like to do, is delve into whatever dark characteristics there are in a comedy, whichever light characteristics they are in a drama. You know, it's like you always want to get as much variance as people have a little bit of everything in them. And I like the tone of this because it was funny, but it was also very, very dark. And that's just the kind of thing that I like. I like things from dark.